I'm not on speaking terms, really. It's not easy, but I have my brother Bob call up the other bandmates, and after they first pretend not to know anything about it, we finally learned that the other three guys have sold their voting right in Creedence to Saul Zaentz, my worst enemy.
John Fogerty, the iconic voice and creative mastermind behind Creedence Clearwater Revival, has experienced a life and career filled with both extraordinary musical achievements and profound personal conflicts. Despite the band's rapid rise to fame and the creation of timeless hits like Proud Mary and Bad Moon Rising, the band was plagued by internal tensions and disputes, particularly over creative control and financial management. These issues culminated in a bitter split, leaving Fogerty entangled in legal battles and estranged from his bandmates. In this video, we'll take a closer look at what happened and what's happened since. Origins of Creedence Clearwater Revival. The band The Blue Velvets underwent a significant transformation when they were signed by Fantasy Records in the mid-60s. The label's co-owner, Max Weiss, suggested they change their name to something more marketable. They became the Gollywogs, a name that later was a source of regret for the band due to its racial connotations. Despite the name change, the Gollywogs struggled to achieve mainstream success. But their perseverance paid off when they decided to rebrand once more, this time as Creedence Clearwater Revival in 1967. The new name symbolized a fresh start and a new musical direction. CCR drew from various influences, including rock, blues, and southern swamp music, creating a distinctive sound that set them apart from other bands of the era. Their self-titled debut album, released in 1968, included the hit single Susie Q, which climbed the charts and brought them national attention. Fogerty's gritty vocals and the band's tight, rootsy instrumentation resonated with audiences, marking the beginning of their rise to fame. CCR's subsequent albums, like Bayou Country and Green River, solidified their status as rock icons. Songs like Proud Mary, Bad Moon Rising, and Born on the Bayou became anthems of the late 60s and early 70s. John Fogerty's songwriting prowess and the band's cohesive sound propelled them to the top of the charts. He talked in an interview about writing Proud Mary and instantly realizing it was the best thing he'd ever written and a classic.
I was trembling, holding the paper and looking at it because it was sort of like holding nitroglycerin or something. You know, whoa, this thing's so something. I don't want to drop it and have it just, blow up or something.
Despite their success, tensions within the band began to surface, foreshadowing the conflicts that eventually led to their split. In interviews, Fogerty often reflects on this period with a mix of pride and regret. He acknowledges the immense creative output and success they achieved, but also hints at the underlying issues that later caused friction. Quote, "We were just kids, really, trying to make sense of it all. The music was always the easy part. It was everything else that got complicated." The split between John and CCR. The split between John Fogerty and Creedence Clearwater Revival was marked by deep creative tensions, financial disputes, and personal conflicts. Despite their success, issues within the band began to surface as early as their peak years. Fogerty's dominant role as the primary songwriter, lead vocalist, and de facto leader of the band created friction with his bandmates, who felt sidelined in the creative process. Doug Clifford and Stu Cook, in particular, expressed frustration over Fogerty's tight grip on the band's musical direction. His insistence on having complete control over the band's output led to increasing resentment. He was known for his perfectionism and strong vision, often dictating every aspect of the recording process. This approach, while successful in producing hits, left very little room for collaboration. In interviews, he's acknowledged this dynamic, saying, "I was very driven, and sometimes that drive meant I took on too much responsibility. It was my way or the highway, and that caused a lot of tension." He rubbed his bandmates, including his brother, the wrong way with his controlling nature. Fogerty talked about when they were doing a photo shoot for an album cover, and he started telling the band members where to stand.
And Tom said something like, "Oh, so now you're going to produce the cover like you produced the records." But he wasn't happy when he said it, and I just thought to myself, ouch.
Financial and managerial disputes further exacerbated the tension. Saul Zaentz, the owner of Fantasy Records, played a significant role. The band members felt they were being unfairly compensated and manipulated by Zaentz, leading to a series of legal battles. Fogerty, in particular, felt betrayed by Saul, whom he had initially trusted. In a 2002 interview with the San Francisco Chronicle, he remarked, Saul was like a father figure, but he turned out to be a wolf in sheep's clothing. The final straw came with the release of the album Mardi Gras in 1972. Fogerty, in an attempt to democratize the band's creative process, insisted that Clifford and Cook contribute their own songs to the album. But the resulting work was critically panned, and the band members themselves were unhappy with the outcome. This experiment in shared creative control only highlighted the deep divisions within the group. Fogerty later admitted, quote, "I wanted to show it wasn't just me, but it backfired. It was a terrible idea." The band's dissolution was inevitable. The final breakup was marked by public and personal fallout, with Fogerty and his bandmates exchanging bitter words. The relationships, particularly between Fogerty and his brother Tom, were irreparably damaged. Tom left the band before its official breakup, feeling alienated and disillusioned. John's decision to leave in 1972 marked the end of an era. Repercussions of the split. The repercussions of CCR's split were profound and far-reaching, affecting both the band's legacy and the personal lives of its members. One of the most significant outcomes was the series of legal battles that ensued. Fogerty found himself embroiled in numerous lawsuits, particularly with Saul Zaentz and Fantasy Records. The legal disputes centered around royalties, song rights, and contractual obligations. Fogerty famously fought to regain control of his music, a battle that consumed much of his time and energy in the years following the breakup. The financial strain of the legal battles was intense. Fogerty's bitterness towards Zaentz culminated in the 1985 song Zaentz Can't Dance, a thinly veiled attack on his former manager. This led to further litigation. The emotional toll was equally significant. The strain of the constant legal wrangling and the feeling of betrayal by those he once trusted deeply affected Fogerty. This period was marked by a lengthy hiatus from music as Fogerty struggled to navigate the complexities of the music business and his personal demons. The relationship between John and Tom was already strained by the band's internal conflicts and deteriorated further after the breakup. The brothers remained estranged until Tom's death in 1990, a fact that John has expressed deep regret over. In various interviews, John has spoken about the pain of losing his brother without reconciliation. Quote, "It breaks my heart we couldn't fix things before he passed." Recently, John talked in an interview about Saul's attempt to apologize to him for a more recent transgression.
I looked at him and said, "Stu, you go fix all those things that are still hurting me now that you set in motion. And then maybe I'll listen to your apology. But right now, it's a pretty empty apology. Okay. I'm still being clobbered."
Efforts to mend fences. Over the years, numerous efforts have been made to mend the fractured relationships between John Fogerty and his former bandmates, with varying degrees of success. One of the most notable attempts was in the mid-'80s when Tom Fogerty, stricken with AIDS, reached out to his brother John. The two had been estranged for years, the relationship severely damaged. John visited Tom during his illness, and though the meeting was brief, it was a poignant moment that hinted at a desire for closure and healing. In the years following Tom's death, there were other attempts at reconciliation, primarily driven by the remaining band members, Doug Clifford and Stu Cook. In the late 80s and early 90s, they formed a new band, Creedence Clearwater Revisited, and extended an invitation to John to join, but John declined. More recently, there have been signs of softening in John's stance. In interviews, he has spoken more reflectively about his time with CCR and has occasionally expressed a willingness to let go of past grievances. In a 2020 interview with Rolling Stone, he said, "I'm in a better place now. I've made peace with a lot of things, and I just want to focus on the music." Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite CCR song? Let us know in the comments section below.